Welcome back to Andersen Acres. Today we're diving into a common yet overlooked condition in domestic rabbits, wet dewlap. If you've never heard of it, don't worry too much. We're going to cover everything you need to know: what a dewlap is, why it gets wet, how to prevent it, how to treat it if it happens, and how to keep your bunnies happy, healthy, and dry. Let's start with the basics. The dewlap is that big fold of skin under the chin of your rabbit. You'll notice it most in the female rabbits, the does, although some males can have a bit of a dewlap too. It's totally natural and more pronounced in certain breeds, especially the large or the lop-eared breeds. My Holland Lops, for example, have fairly large dewlaps, especially the ladies. It can look a little like a pillow under their chin, and when it's dry and healthy, it's perfectly fine. Nothing to worry about. Now here's where problems can start. A wet dewlap is just what it sounds like. The fur on the dewlap becomes damp or even soaked. This often leads to the fur matting together and trapping moisture against the skin. When the rabbit skin stays wet too long, it gets irritated pretty quick. Rabbits do have delicate skin. If left untreated, it can turn green, emit a foul odor, and develop an infection that can be painful for your rabbit and rack up vet bills for you. So why does this happen? The number one culprit is usually water bowls or crocks. Rabbits tend to press their chin against the bowl when they drink, especially if the bowl is low and their dewlap gets dragged through the water. That moisture soaks in, and over time you can end up with a soggy mess. Other potential causes include rabbits that are grooming excessively, especially in that dewlap area, dribbling water from their mouth after they're drinking, even if they don't drag their dewlap through the water itself, environments that are really high in humidity, and even dental problems that cause drooling can lead to wet dewlap. Luckily, this condition is very preventable with just a few tweaks to your setup. You might try switching to a bowl that makes it harder to get the entire chin wet. Cage-mounted bowls or bottles that feed into small reservoirs can really help. Some people like bottles. I don't love water bottles, but a rabbit with a chronically wet dewlap may benefit from having a water bottle. I don't love them because bowls encourage more water intake, which is better for your rabbit, but it's better to use a bottle than to have a rabbit that constantly gets an infection because of a wet dewlap. You also want to check their environment for humidity and keep hutches dry and really well ventilated. And keep up with the grooming, especially on long-haired breeds. Things like lion heads and Angoras tend to get a lot of moisture stuck in their fur, especially right under that dewlap. So definitely keep an eye on that. Make sure they're clean and dry. Simple changes can really make a huge difference. But what if you already have a rabbit with a wet dewlap? Then what do? I can tell you what I do. What you do is you want to carefully trim that matted fur to expose the skin. You don't want to trap more moisture under there, so carefully cut that fur away. Careful not to cut the skin. You don't want to hurt anybody. But you want to remove as much fur as possible without plucking. You don't want to pluck the fur, the skin is already irritated. So trim the fur as best as you are able, not with a razor, just with a pair of scissors. A razor can again irritate the skin. Then you want to clean the area gently with warm water and then just pat it dry. Okay, you want to get that area dry, but you don't want to rub. If you rub, you're going to irritate the skin. Again, it's already irritated, so be very gentle. Then you're going to want to apply an antibiotic ointment to soothe any irritation and prevent infection. Make sure it's a rabbit-safe and non-toxic ointment in case your bunny does lick it, which they probably will. They'll get it on their paws and then they'll lick their paws and they'll ingest it. If you're not sure what ointment might work best for your rabbit, consult your rabbit-savvy vet. They'll know. You also want to adjust their water source immediately so it doesn't keep happening. So perhaps elevate that water bowl so they have to kind of sit up a little bit to drink their water so they're not constantly dragging their dewlap through that water, because that sucks. It really does. It's not good for them. If the skin looks really red, swollen, or starts to smell bad, see a vet. Infections can get serious fast. Speaking of the vet, let's talk about when you need to call the vet. So I already mentioned a couple of things. The first is swelling. Unusual swelling of the dewlap is reason to call the vet, especially if you suspect wet dewlap, if they've had a lot of wetness in that chin area. Also, discoloration, immediate vet visit. If it's green, black, or a deep red, get yourself to the vet. If it stinks, has a really bad odor, that's indicative of infection. Vet trip. If there are open sores, you've let it go on way too long, you are going to need a vet to help you here. If it's gone on so long that you actually have open sores, they're basically like bed sores, you're going to need some intervention from your veterinarian. And if there are any behavioral changes, like your rabbit stops eating or grooming because of the pain, you definitely want to see your vet then. These are your signs to call the vet. Early intervention can help save your rabbit from a much worse situation, a really bad infection, or even death. And it can save you from that really large vet bill that we all dread. We don't want to spend thousands of dollars on a vet bill for a rabbit. So intervene early, and you might not even have to call the vet. Good for everyone. So here on Andersen Acres, we have had the occasional run-in with wet dewlaps. The one that sticks out the most was one of our does, 7-Up. She was our Rex. She was our Broken Lynx Rex. I don't believe there are any videos of her. I think she was pre when I started filming. But she used to like dunking her whole chin in her water bowl. Now, we did catch it early, and she was doing it deliberately. She wasn't even necessarily drinking the water. She was just dipping her whole chin in the water. And we caught her doing it early, and then it wasn't fully drying, so we switched her to a cage-mounted bowl and raised that bowl up so she couldn't deliberately drag her chin through the water again. And then we clipped the matted fur, and she did end up healing up just fine. We didn't need veterinary intervention. We got it early enough that it wasn't an issue, but she did have to have cage-mounted water bowls that were elevated a little bit for the rest of her life. She was not able to use the rubber bowls that we use for most of the outdoor rabbits. We did have to use something that was a little more secure and a little bit higher up, just to prevent it. It takes a little observation and some quick action to treat it quickly and prevent it from happening again, but it is possible. It does not have to be a completely serious issue if you don't let it. All right, most cases, unless it's caused by a dental infection. A dental infection can cause wet dewlap, and in that case, you're going to need your vet's assistance. But most cases of wet dewlap can absolutely be prevented with just a little bit of foresight and a little bit of action. So keep an eye on your rabbits and don't let it happen to you. That's about it for us here today at Andersen Acres. Drop a comment below if you've ever had a rabbit with a wet dewlap, or if you've got any questions about how to care for your rabbit's wet dewlap. I love hearing your stories and helping each other learn. We'll see you tomorrow.